The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society, a kind of mask designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. From the moment we're born, we're taught how to belong, what success looks like, which opinions are acceptable, which emotions should be hidden. Every society establishes its own hierarchy of values. It rewards certain qualities and quietly discourages others. Slowly, and often without realizing it, we begin shaping ourselves around the expectations of the collective. Society offers us ready-made identities, a profession, an ideology, a reputation. And the more we identify with these identities, the less we stop to ask the question that matters most. Who am I apart from what the world expects me to be? Jung coined the term persona to describe the psychological mask we present to the world. Derived from the Latin word for mask, the persona represents the identity we develop in response to society, the part of ourselves that learns how to navigate relationships, fulfill social roles, and meet the expectations of the communities we belong to. The persona is not a deception. It is a psychological necessity. No society could function without it. Every social role demands that we present ourselves in a particular way. As employees, parents, friends, professionals and citizens, we are constantly adapting our behavior to meet the expectations of the world around us. Without some degree of adaptation, meaningful participation in society would be impossible. The problem, Jung argued, is not that we wear a mask. The problem begins when we forget that it is a mask. Over time, the distinction between who we are and who we appear to be gradually disappears. Instead of discovering our own nature, we become increasingly occupied with maintaining the identity that earns acceptance, admiration, and belonging. The question quietly changes. No longer, who am I? But rather, who must I become in order to be accepted? Every society answers that question differently. It establishes its own ideals, rewards particular virtues, and quietly discourages whatever threatens social acceptance. Today, those pressures are amplified through social media, corporate culture, and political identity. Everywhere we look, we are presented with models of who we should become. Without realizing it, we begin constructing ourselves around those expectations, not because we are consciously pretending, but because we have slowly mistaken adaptation for identity. The moment we begin identifying with the persona, another psychological process begins to unfold. The identity we consciously embrace inevitably determines the parts of ourselves we reject. The moment we decide, this is who I am, we also begin deciding, this is who I am not. Anything that threatens the identity we have constructed becomes increasingly difficult to acknowledge, not because it disappears, but because it no longer belongs to the person we believe ourselves to be. Instead, it is pushed beyond conscious awareness and into the unconscious. This is the beginning of what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is not limited to anger, fear, or aggression. It also contains the qualities, desires, and capacities that never found permission to develop because they conflicted with the identity we learned to present to the world. Imagine a young boy growing up in a culture that prizes toughness above all else. He discovers a love for painting, music, or poetry, but quickly learns that these interests invite ridicule. Rather than risk rejection, he hides that part of himself. The creativity does not disappear. It remains within him, together with the shame attached to it, beyond the reach of conscious awareness. It has become part of his shadow. This process extends beyond the individual. Every society establishes its own boundaries of what is considered acceptable, and those who step beyond them often face ridicule, exclusion, or rejection. We learn not only through what is praised, but also through what is punished. The fear of losing our place within the group quietly teaches us which parts of ourselves are safe to express and which are safer to hide. Everything that has been pushed into the shadow continues to exist beneath the surface of awareness. It may be hidden from the conscious mind, but it remains psychologically active, quietly influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behavior. The more completely we identify with the persona, the more energy is invested in maintaining it, and the greater the effort required to keep everything that contradicts it out of conscious awareness. But repression is not the same as transformation. What is unconscious has a tendency to express itself indirectly, through sudden anger, resentment, envy, compulsive behavior, self-sabotage, addiction, or emotional reactions that seem completely out of proportion to the situation. How often have we heard someone say, "I don't know why I reacted like that"? From a Jungian perspective, the answer is profound. Part of you reacted before your conscious mind had the opportunity to. The shadow does not disappear because we refuse to acknowledge it. It waits, and until it is brought into consciousness, it continues to shape our lives from behind the scenes. When aspects of the shadow remain unconscious, they do not simply influence behavior, they also influence perception. Qualities we cannot recognize within ourselves become surprisingly easy to recognize in other people because the unconscious projects what the conscious mind refuses to acknowledge. The pride we deny within ourselves becomes someone else's arrogance. The envy we cannot admit becomes someone else's jealousy. This is what Jung called projection. It is one of the primary ways the unconscious reveals itself. We believe we are seeing other people clearly, when in reality, we are often seeing reflections of the parts of ourselves that remain hidden. This does not mean every criticism is a projection. People genuinely possess flaws, just as we do. But the intensity of our reactions can often reveal something deeper. The qualities that provoke us most powerfully in others are sometimes the very qualities we have never confronted within ourselves. These projections are not formed in isolation. The same society that shapes our persona also shapes our judgments. It teaches us which qualities deserve admiration, which deserve ridicule, who belongs, and who does not. When these collective values combine with our own unconscious projections, we stop responding to people as they truly are. Instead, we respond to what they represent within us. The more unconscious we become, the less we see individuals, and the more we see symbols of everything we have accepted or rejected. Until the shadow is brought into consciousness, we risk mistaking our own unconscious for objective reality. Perhaps the greatest psychological crisis of modern society is that we have become so preoccupied with becoming acceptable to the collective that many of us no longer know who we are apart from it. Society will always influence the individual. Jung never denied that. The real question is whether society merely influences us or whether it becomes the authority that defines us. When the collective becomes the measure of our identity, the persona replaces the individual. The shadow grows deeper, and our perception of both ourselves and others becomes increasingly distorted. The task of individuation is to reverse that process, to bring the unconscious into consciousness, to withdraw our identity from the mask, and to discover the person that exists beneath it. Perhaps this is why the greatest psychological question is also the oldest philosophical question. Who are you when everything the world has told you to be is stripped away?